I stumbled through the dense forest as the rain hit my face as the wind howled. The dark forest surrounding me was temporarily illuminated by lightning as it flashed across the sky. My heart raced with each deafening clap of thunder, my senses heightened by fear and adrenaline. I had been hiking for hours, hoping to reach civilization before the storm hit. But now, lost and disoriented, I sought shelter wherever I could find it. And then, through the relentless rain, I saw it. A small cabin nestled among the trees. Relief flooded through me as I hurried toward the cabin, my clothes soaked and my muscles aching. Pushing open the creaky door, I stepped into the dimly lit interior, grateful for the break from the storm. But as I surveyed my surroundings, a sense of unease settled over me. The cabin was eerily silent, the only sound the steady drumming of rain against the roof. Dust motes danced in the beam of my flashlight, casting strange shadows on the walls. Shaking off my apprehension, I set about making myself comfortable. I lit a fire in the hearth, the warm glow chasing away the chill that had settled in my bones. I found a can of soup in the pantry and set it on the stove to heat, relishing the thought of a hot meal after hours in the cold. As I waited for the soup to simmer, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I glanced nervously around the cabin, half expecting to see someone, or something, lurking in the shadows. But the room was empty, save for myself. I tried to ignore the paranoia and forced myself to focus on the task at hand. But no matter how hard I tried to ignore it, the feeling of being watched lingered like a bad dream. Finally, the soup was ready, and I poured myself a steaming bowl, savoring the warmth as it filled my appetite. But even as I ate, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that gnawed at me. After finishing my meal, I decided to explore the cabin further, hoping to distract myself from my mounting anxiety. I wandered from room to room, running my hands over the dusty furniture and peering into dark corners. But then, as I reached the bedroom, I froze. There, on the floor, lay a tattered journal, its pages yellowed with age. Curiosity piqued, I picked it up and began to read. The journal belonged to a man named Jacob, who had sought refuge in the cabin during a storm much like the one raging outside. As I read his entries, a sense of dread crept over me. Jacob talked about hearing strange noises in the night, scratching at the windows, whispers in the darkness. He had dismissed them as his imagination. But as the days wore on, the noises grew louder, more insistent. And then, one night, Jacob had vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but his journal as a testament to his ordeal. A chill ran down my spine as I realized that I was not alone in the cabin. Something, or someone, was out there, lurking in the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I hurriedly closed the journal and made my way back to the main room, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew I had to leave the cabin, to get as far away from this place as possible. But as I reached for the door, a sudden crash echoed through the cabin, stopping me in my tracks. I spun around, my flashlight sweeping the room in a frantic search for the source of the noise. And then I saw it, a pair of glowing eyes staring at me from the shadows. With a cry of terror, I bolted for the door, throwing it open and racing out into the storm. The rain lashed at my face, obscuring my vision as I stumbled blindly through the forest. But no matter how fast I ran, I couldn't escape the feeling that something was following me, just out of sight. And as the storm raged on, I knew that I would never be truly safe until I put as much distance as possible between myself and that cursed cabin in the woods. The rain hammered down relentlessly, making the windshield hard to see out of. Lightning streaked across the sky, illuminating the desolate highway ahead. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles white with tension. The storm had caught me off guard, as I was driving by myself to North Carolina for the holidays. As I navigated the slick roads, my headlights caught a sign up ahead, "Welcome to Nowhere, Population 0. It was an ominous greeting, but I pressed on, desperate to find shelter from the raging tempest. Suddenly, a deafening crack split the air, and my car hydroplaned, spinning out of control. I fought to regain traction, but it was futile. With a sickening lurch, I careened off the road and into a ditch, the world spinning around me. I managed to get myself out of the car unharmed, luckily. I found myself stranded in the middle of nowhere, the rain pelting down mercilessly. I surveyed my surroundings, searching for any sign of life. With very little around me, I spotted a dilapidated house nestled among the trees, its windows shattered and its walls crumbling. With no other options, I trudged through the mud towards the house, each step heavy with dread. The door creaked open with a spine-chilling groan, revealing a pitch-black interior. I hesitated for a moment, my instincts screaming at me to turn back, but the storm raged on, driving me forward into the unknown. As I stepped inside, the musty air assaulted my senses, mingling with the scent of decay. The floorboards creaked beneath my feet, and the sound of dripping water echoed through the empty halls. It was as if the house itself was alive, whispering secrets long forgotten. I made my way through the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. Each room I entered seemed more decrepit than the last, filled with broken furniture and peeling wallpaper. But as I reached the top of the stairs, a sense of dread washed over me. There was something sinister lurking in the shadows. With a trembling hand, I pushed open the door to the nearest room, revealing a scene straight from a nightmare. The walls were adorned with faded portraits, their eyes following me as I crossed the threshold. And in the center of the room stood a solitary figure, its back turned to me, its presence filling the air with dread. I tried to speak, to call out for help, but no words escaped my lips. I was paralyzed, trapped in the gaze of the creature before me. And as the lightning flashed outside, its true form was revealed, a twisted monstrosity, neither human nor animal, its eyes burning with an otherworldly hunger. In that moment, I knew that I was not alone in the darkness, that something far more sinister lurked within the confines of the house. With a surge of adrenaline, I turned and fled, the creature's unearthly shrieks echoing in my ears. I raced down the stairs, stumbling over debris in my haste to escape. As I reached the front door, I ran like my life depended on it. I ran all the way back to my car without looking back. I never want to know what was in that abandoned house that night. I am just glad I made it out of there unharmed. The storm outside raged as its fury echoed through the howling winds of the old hotel. Seeking refuge for the night, I stumbled through the doors of the rundown establishment, its once grand facade now weathered and worn. The reception area greeted me with a musty scent, and the dim glow of a solitary lamp barely pierced the darkness. Ignoring the ominous feeling that crept over me, I approached the front desk, where a dusty ledger lay open, its pages yellowed with age. I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the quill pen, before finally scrawling my name amidst the faded ink of previous guests. As I turned to head towards my room, a voice whispered in the back of my mind, a warning that was disregarded. The narrow corridor stretched out before me like a tunnel, the floorboards creaking beneath my weight as I made my way to my designated room. The air grew colder with each step, and a sense of unease settled over me like a shroud. Room 213. The number glared at me from the peeling paint of the door, its surface tarnished by years of neglect. With trembling hands, I pushed it open, revealing a space frozen in time. Dust-covered furniture lay scattered about the room, and moth-eaten curtains hung limply from the windows. Despite the dilapidated state of the room, exhaustion weighed heavy on my eyelids, and I collapsed onto the lumpy mattress, hoping to find solace in sleep. But as I drifted into unconsciousness, a sense of fear lingered in my mind. I awoke to the sound of distant whispers, their words unintelligible yet filled with sorrow. Groggily, I sat up in bed. Glancing around the room, I saw nothing but darkness and decay, yet the feeling of being watched sent shivers down my spine. Forcing myself to dismiss my fears, I rose from the bed and stumbled towards the window. Pulling back the moth-eaten curtains, I peered out into the night, only to be met with a blinding flash of lightning. In that brief moment of illumination, I saw them. Faces pressed against the glass, their eyes hollow and vacant, their mouths contorted into silent screams. Gasping, I stumbled backward, my heart pounding in my chest. Frantically, I fumbled for the door, desperate to escape the horrors that lurked within the confines of the hotel. But as I reached for the handle, a chill ran down my spine. The whispers grew louder, filling the air with a cacophony of anguished cries. With trembling hands, I flung open the door and fled into the corridor, the darkness swallowing me whole. As I ran, my footsteps echoing off the walls as I searched for an escape from the nightmare that surrounded me. But no matter how far I ran, I could not shake the feeling of dread that clung to me like a second skin. Suddenly, I stumbled upon a staircase, its steps spiraling downward into the depths of the hotel. Without hesitation, I descended into the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. As I reached the bottom of the staircase, I found myself in a vast chamber, its walls lined with rows upon rows of empty beds. In the center of the room stood a figure cloaked in shadow, its eyes gleaming. I tried to flee, but my feet refused to move, rooted to the spot by an unseen force. The figure stepped forward, its features slowly becoming clear in the dim light. It was a woman, her face twisted in agony, her eyes pleading for release. And as she reached out to me with spectral hands, I realized with a sinking heart the true horror of the hotel. It was a prison for the forgotten souls of the past, trapped for eternity within its walls. And now, it seemed, I was destined to join them.